Welcome to the Fractured Families podcast. I'm Charity, your dedicated parental alienation coach, here to guide and support families as they navigate the challenges of high conflict divorces and custody battles. On this podcast, we'll share insights, practical strategies, and hope for those on the journey toward healing and justice. Whether you're personally experiencing these challenges or just want to learn more about the complexities of parental alienation and custody disputes, you're in the right place. You are not alone. This is the Fractured Families podcast, where every voice matters and every story is heard. And if you find my conversation helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us reach more families who need it. Hi, thanks for joining the Fractured Families podcast. I'm Charity, your host. I have with me today Alejandro, who's going to share with us his story of alienation. Alejandro, thank you for being a follower on my social media channels and for your willingness to come on to the Fractured Families podcast and talk about your story. Why don't you get us started and tell us a little bit about your intact relationship with your child's mother, and then let's talk a little bit about how you recognize alienation over the separation.
Okay. Well, I had a beautiful marriage of 17 years. Beautiful, really. We've never had an issue. But we moved to the United States in 2013 from Mexico because of my job. And my kids were at that time 3 years old and 9 months old. We arrived to the city of Fishers in Indiana, and we established there pretty well. Uh, we had a nice life in that city. We adapted fastly, and then in 2016, my wife got diagnosed with uh, cancer, a very rare type of cancer. Since that point on, we decided that we were going to face that illness as a family together and with our own resources. So we don't have to be asking favors for the neighbor, my mother, her mother, whoever. Um, she spent a lot of time in the hospital when the kids were that little, around 6 years old and 3 years old. Basically, since she was diagnosed, I became mom and dad for the kids and the caregiver for her. So my relationship with my kids, my two amazing sons, Alejandro and Emilio, uh, was a very close one. We were very attached to each other. Each one had their own personality. I had different activities that I used to do with each one of them based on their personalities and their interests. I made sure that even though mom was sick, that they had the most possible normalcy in their lives. So I made sure that they had a sport. I took them to swimming classes. I was doing homeworks with them. It was a little bit difficult at some point because I was the parent that uh, had to be strict. I was the one asking for the homeworks. I was the one telling them, you gotta clean your room, you gotta go to sleep now, turn on the TV, no more video games. But at the same time, I needed to be a parent that play with them and go and play a basketball game with them or whatever it was the case. Um, we were really, really attached. I remember that I adjusted my entire life in order to take care of them. Um, so I usually will go to sleep about 1 or 2 p.m. a.m. I'm sorry, and wake up at 6:30 to make sure that they had their breakfast and the bus, and 5 minutes late, and those 5 minutes in the morning are gold. And very, very, it was a very normal relationship, very pretty and beautiful. Um, of course, they were 3 years apart, and as a good brothers, they will from time to time fight to between them, and I will have to say, "Don't fight with your brother," and all of that. Um, which I miss a lot, the laughs and the complaints and the tantrums and everything. I miss everything of my kids. I remember that when my wife got sick and I had to step up, um, I was raised in a culture very machista where I was not allowed to do any chores of the home. I was not allowed to do dishes or to do cleaning, or because that was considered feminine. So at this time, when I was facing this issue in life, for the first time, I had to go to YouTube to find out how to turn on a dryer, a washer, how to cook, how to everything. And YouTube was a great teacher. Um, so uh, my kids were kind of growing up with the same pattern, but a little bit less strict, more, I would say, more modern, much more acceptance and things like that. And what happened was when my wife got um, from the doctors the news that they will stop after 8 years the chemotherapies, the curative treatment. They will only give her palliative treatment. So she started with a really heavy amount of opioids. Her mother traveled from Mexico to our home in Indiana, and um, she started something horrible. Uh, One day, suddenly, the mother-in-law gets a rental car, she steals the passports of my kids. She packs and she tries to run with them, to flee with them to Mexico. I was waiting for my youngest kid at the bus stop. So she approached the boss and told my son that, hop on, there's an emergency. And I told my son, no, don't hop on. He went in the car and then she drove away. I called the police. The police was able to locate her, and they went back to my home. She already had another person in the way, in the road, that was going to be handing the passports to her. And anyway, the police was able to recover the kids, the passports. Um, for some reason, the police didn't allow me to press any charges. They told me that it was a civil issue. Then, following that, she removes my wife, her daughter, and my kids from the home. I again told the police, and the police told me they cannot do anything because it was a civil issue. I told them they can leave. I mean, they two adults, they can leave if they want, but the kids needs to remain here. No, we cannot do anything. They took them with no court order, no anything. Uh, and that was on September 28th, 2023. And from that point on, I haven't had a single contact with my sons. Not a text message, not nothing, nothing at all. My wife passed away months later on June, which I find out because somebody expressed the condolences to me, because the mother-in-law didn't uh, inform me. And uh, I was very much um trying to get to my kids to give them a hug in that moment, because the whole time it was breaking my heart just to think that they were seeing their mom sick, and at some point they will have to say goodbye, and I wanted to be there for them and give them a big hug. I don't know what is that. I still have my mom with me, So I don't imagine what that uh, impact of life feels like. Well, but the mother-in-law, she hides the kids. Apparently, she took them to another state and then came back. I called the police. The police was able to locate her, and then she said the police said that she had some sort of paperwork from the court that allowed her to have them. I was pretty until today. I don't think she ever had anything. Uh, then, when I was trying to call the funerary homes to find out where my wife was, I find out when I find out the funerary, they gave me the that certificate, and I said, "There's an error here," and they say no, or if there's an error, I will be happy to correct the mistake. And I said, well, it says here that the lady was divorced and she was married. And then they say, why don't you call the court? Then I called the court. And in fact, indeed, there was a divorce decree. That's how I find out I was divorced because my mother in law forced her. They always had a very abusive relationship, the mother to the daughter. So they went and say that it was not possible to serve me because I was nowhere to be found. I abandoned the family, um, and therefore they were looking for the divorce. My wife was not able to attend to the hearing. She was not able to read, not able to speak, not able to move. So she was given the chance to attend by Zoom, and they gave to her a little sign with a yes or no that her mother um, kindly helped her to respond the judge questions by moving her hand with the yes or no sign, and that's how the divorce was held. Also, they requested protection orders on behalf of my kids, false allegations. Those protection orders, at the beginning, I didn't know how damaging, how I don't even think they know how far they go. Those are like a poison that goes and goes and goes and goes and damage, 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 damage. I was able to. I lost my job in the process, as it is usual that happens. Now that I am learning about all of this, and I was not able to pay for a lawyer, so I started to reading the law and educate myself to contest the protection orders. So I did, and after some months, finally I was able to respond. I responded, and I was able to to prove that they were made on false allegations. Although they were three protection orders: one for my one of my sons, the other one for the other of my sons, and the third one for my wife. In the paperwork that I got, there was only one. So I only responded to one. It was dismissed. And then I find out later on that there were the other two remaining. I did exactly the same process. Uh, but now, when I did the same process, the judge that was handling the divorce took them and said, I'm going to uh, bundle it with the divorce case. And I said, well, if you will consider to have a hearing sooner because of the nature of the protection orders that are affecting people's life. So let's have it sooner. No, denied, dismissed, dismissed, dismissed. I started like sensing something from the judge, but then I thought I might be paranoid, and we all may think that the judge is against us, and so let's take it easy. And I continue the process. And then in the meantime, I was calling the school and I was trying to see the performance of my kids, the attendance. I mean, everything that I was able to get in touch with my kids, I was trying to. So suddenly the school one day blocks me, all my accesses and everything is removed. They don't even answer to me, emails, nothing. So I started being more aggressive about getting a response. Finally, somebody from the school tells me that they have paperwork that they believe is the right thing to do, not to give me any information. And they suggest me to call the court. I call the court and I find out they say, oh, yes, indeed, there was an order issued yesterday, a third party custody order granted to the mother in law. And I said, how come? If I was not in a hearing, I was not I mean, this is the first time that I'm hearing about this. And they say, well, I mean, I can send you a copy. Okay, send me the copy. Uh, when they were trying to send me the copy, we find out we were on the phone with the court clerk, and we find out that the email that they had for me was incorrect. And I said, how come if I had it updated with the court, did you change it? And they say, well, if I change it, it's because you asked me to. And I said, no, I didn't. And she says, well, hold on, I can tell you when did you ask me to change it? Okay. And then she opens the records and she says, no, it was your attorney, it was your wife's attorney that requested to change the information. She provided different email, address, everything. So I was never served. I was totally blind. Uh, anyway, um, I start looking about all of this, the processes that the judge needed to request, because in a matter of a week and a half, the judge gave the custody order just like that, sole custody with no limitations. Uh, After my kids were removed abruptly, after the judge gave the custody to a person that has no ties to that county, no ties with the United States because she is in the United States under a tourist visa. Uh, I submitted motions to limit travel restrictions and things like that. Denied, denied, everything denied. Uh, I'm in the process of um, doing an appellate to go to the appellate court, and also I have the protection. Once I knew my wife passed away, there was a moment that in that time that when they abandoned me and my mom got sick in Mexico, my brothers, my siblings called me and they say, we think it's time to say goodbye. So I flew to Mexico and I was able to uh, take care of my mom, and she was able to, they resuscitated her and everything, and she was able to be okay. So I stayed with her to uh, take care of her in Mexico after the hospital. Because of that, I missed um, court date that I had. So I had a failure to appear, and therefore there was a warrant issue. Because of that issue, the judge responds at the end of the divorce and at the end of the all of the motions that I submitted that because I have an open warrant, he's denying everything and that he skipped all the processes. For example, he needed to request a due diligence of search as an affidavit, where they will say, I tried to reach Alejandro with her mother on this day on this telephone, and her mother said, I don't know where he is. And then his job, his cousin, his friends, and all of these people, George, the guy is completely gone. So we don't know where to find him. He didn't request that affidavit. He only requested the publication in the newspaper. And that's how I lost the custody. Well, I don't think I lost the custody because I was telling you that I was in Mexico. The moment that I was informed about my wife passing away, I went immediately to the central authority in Mexico to file for international restitution of minors through the Hague Convention, through the Hague Treaty. So that means that the Department of State reviews the case, reviews that I am exercising the custody. The same in Mexico. They accept the case. Therefore, there are very clear rules that says no judge can modify custody, permanent or temporary, while an open case of restitution is ongoing. But regardless, the judge went ahead and did. Also, there's a there's another clause that says if for some reason the judge modifies the custody, it doesn't matter. The restitution will continue. And once the restitution has been completed, whoever wants to file for custody, then they will file for custody. I'm in the process of that. I'm filing in a federal court the formal petition of the restitution of my kids probably tomorrow with no lawyer. I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I have to do it. And it's very, I'm very disappointed about the judicial system. I thought that I was going to be protected, that my kids were going to be protected in the hands of a judge. And to find out that that is not the case at all, the whole thing, the whole motive of this person was to keep, I had a home in Indiana and I had a home in Mexico. The whole purpose of uh, keeping my kids is to get the means to get my two properties. In Indiana, she did it by the divorce, and in the divorce, the judge gave everything. Only my assets were listed, none of hers, and everything was given to my wife. Since I didn't make a quit claim deed, my wife passed away without me doing it. So basically, the property was never hers. Right? But we married with a prenup stating separate properties. So at least was half and half, but the judge ignored that and gave everything to her. Uh, After that happened, mother-in-law, 20 days before she died, makes her sign a will where leaves everything to her and forgets about the kids. And at that moment, I know she didn't even know that she was signing anything. I mean, and well, anyway, she passed away. And since the weight clean deed has not been made and has not been changed, they filed a motion 1 day later, 1 day after she died, stating that it was she making the motion. And the judge grants the motion. The judge appoints a commissioner to go to the recording office, and on behalf my person will sign the property title to put it on the name of my wife. Although I don't believe, I mean, I have a hard time to believe that the judge has not have a conflict of interest. He knew by that moment that my wife has already deceased. and he was appointing a commissioner to purge in the name of a deceased person a property, which is totally illegal. That cannot happen. But the judge sent the commissioner, and that happened. They changed the name, and then uh, supposedly my wife makes another document after she died where she gives the home to a third person, and that third person goes and immediately moves in, and they keep living in my home. All my properties, my clothes, my underwear it was there, right? I mean, my pictures, my frames, memories, everything. So I'm right now in the middle of fighting for that. It is important the home, but it is more important the custody of my kids. And of course, the home gives me an stability to get back with my kids and then start back again. I filed this international restitution request in Mexico to bring them to Mexico. But since the lady has been already been crossing the border to Mexico and to the US, Mexico and to the US, like she is above the law, she's trying to get in Mexico the custody as well by presenting the custody that was given to her in the Hamilton County court. So she's forum shopping based on what is convenient to her. And she's been hiding in the US because the moment that she crosses to Mexico, right now, I have the custody. Therefore, I can go with the police and take my kids. In the US, she has the custody because this uh, corrupted judge gave her the custody, violating many rights and many rules and many things. Um, so I had to uh, fight against even the police to give me the reports. I don't know what she did or what happened. The police was very reluctant to give me the reports on when she was attempting to kidnap the kids. They say, no, you are trying to paint that lady as the bad person in the picture. And this agency is not going to help. I'm sorry, but I am not asking you to do anything except to comply with your job and comply with my right, that is to get the report. I'm not asking you to write anything or to delete anything. Call on Monday and anywhere. I went to the chief of the police. Chief of the police, it was another story. He was very open and immediately provided the report. Well, I can see the reports were tampered and modified. They eliminated her name in the main report. How come? Well, I'm in the middle of that. Uh, I've been going through depressions, through finding a local support group. I don't think anybody that has not gone through this really dimensions the the hurt, the pain. I have always told that I cannot even express how it feels because there are no words to express it. It goes above and beyond. I have tried to stay strong in my faith. I found an emotional support group that it's been it's been okay, and it gave me enough energy to keep going and to keep defending myself and to keep uh, learning about the laws and tools and uh, making contacts and so I'm so desperate now. It's been almost 2 years since I haven't seen my kids for no reason. She brought the kids to an author to a judge in Mexico because she's trying to get the custody, and the judge made some questions to the kids. It was heartbreaking. I knew I was expecting for it. I knew the alienation was very heavy because already people that knows her were already telling me that she's telling the kids that you abandoned them, that since they were born, you told your wife, they don't look like me, so I don't love them, and things like that. Yeah. And that I am in drugs, that I am, that I never supported my family financially, that eh, many things. Um, so my kids were being asked questions and they didn't mention a single positive thing of me. It was everything, the narrative that they are listening daily from this lady. Uh, I mean, I don't know. Uh, we don't want my, we don't want to do, we don't want to have anything to do with my dad or his family because his family has never helped us in anything. And my dad has never been financially responsible for us. And I would like to imagine a 15-year-old saying this. And I would like to request to the authorities in Mexico, could you please provide and grant, with these words, grant a protection order for me, for my youngest brother, and for my grandmother, because we are in grave risk that my father found us, and things like that. When I listened to it and I was reading to it, I'm not going to lie, I cried. It really broke me. But then I thought, I knew this was going to happen. I was waiting for it. I've been trying to educate myself on once I get back to them. I mean, once we reunite, what to say, what not to say, how to treat them. I believe that I need to give them their own space, their own time. They will be the ones setting the pace, not myself. Of course, I will never mention the the grandmother ever in my life in front of them. They will know and they will find out later when they are adults. But she has robbed me 2 beautiful years of my kids. No one in this world will love a kid more than mom and dad. No one. And my kids, they don't have to live this miserable life that she lives. They are sharing her miserable life just because she has money to buy a yacht and I didn't. That's that's the whole story. And especially my youngest kid was being alienated when we were still living together. I remember that I saw signs. The first sign was a diary that he used to sleep with the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law will say, against the family rules and the family policy was no kids sleep with adults ever, no matter what. So the mother-in-law will always say, "Oh, please come and sleep with me," and this and that. And well, then my youngest will go to sleep with her often. She will speak by phone to her husband, and all of she will say all of these bad things about me, right? All of these bad persona that she was creating. My kid started to listening to all of that and started putting it in the diary. And then when I found the diary, I asked my wife, and then she said, "I don't have an idea." We started to investigate. Later on, I find out it was because he was listening to these conversations. And I remember one of the last times that I saw him, I I was going to hug him, and he reacted like scared. And I said, "What's going on?" And then he says, "Oh, uh, I believe you are not safe to be around." And I said, "What? Who told you that?" And he told me, "My grandmother." Okay, I am the same one, and I haven't changed, and I've been in charge of you since you were born and you don't remember, but I am very safe to be around. And he was skeptical and he didn't know. And he was trying to see me like if I was uh, drunk or something, or I don't know. Um, he was very alienated, very, very, very alienated since we were at home. My wife also contributed to that when, for example, we were in front of them, and if I will get close to my wife will react like, oh, like I was gonna hit her or something. So my kids will react like, yeah, what's gonna happen, right? That was alienation 101. I mean, pure alienation. At that time, I didn't really know how to distinguish that, but with the time, I clearly see that those reactions from the adults about, oh, he's gonna hit me or afraid of me or things like that. Um, or once I was playing video games with them in the room, and then we finished. It was time to go to sleep, and my mother-in-law was in the floor listening to what was going on in the inside the room. And then when I opened the door, I see her in the floor. That was really, oh my god. And then I said, yes, can I help you? And then she stands up and she was with an attitude. So my wife comes and saves her again and starts asking the voice the typical, are you okay? Are you okay? And my kids were like, why am I not going to be okay? Yeah, we were playing video games. Are you sure? And she was kind of reviewing them from the head and if they had any bruises or things like that. Oh my God. That's how I started the alienation. On the one of the very last times that I saw them, probably it was the last time, my, well, they both, my wife and my mother-in-law, um, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I gotta say it. I gotta speak up. They both started punching me in the face, being physically aggressive with me in front of the kids. Of course, I was not going to send a punch back to any of them. So I called the police. But in the meantime that I was calling the police, I was uh, asking for help and I was yelling out, help, help. They keep continue just punching me. And I keep asking my wife, why are you giving your kids these memories? Forget about me. But they will remember always mom and grandmother punching that in the face. Why? And of course, no response. When they were leaving, my oldest kid said, no, I don't want to get into the car. I want to stay with that. And they both started like fire, like get on and this and that. And I said to my kid, look, you're going to stay with me? Yes, you are welcome to stay with me. But I see that in your face that you have a struggle. What is it? And then he says, I want to stay with you, but I don't want to leave my younger brother with them. Oh, and I said, when, as you know, I'm not going to be the father or the parent that is uh, going to have you choose between mom and dad. Whatever you choose, I support it. If you choose going to mom, that's okay with me. And if you choose to stay with me, that's okay. But more importantly, I should tell you that it's very noble and very brave from you to think about taking care of your brother. So whatever you decide, it's okay with me, and I will be happy with the decision. I mean, he says, even if I go a- again and hop in the car, I said, even if you do that, because I know that you're doing that because you want to take care of your brother. Then he put a little face and he went back to the car, and that's the last time that I saw him.
Alejandro, this is so heartbreaking. I mean, to learn, as you admitted to be the man of the household while your
Mhm.
wife was sick, to lose your children, to lose your wife, to be dismissed
My
and
home, everything.
crucified by the judge, to lose your home. It's unbelievable. So we're coming up on time. You said you have a federal hearing. Is that tomorrow?
Filing
I
the
mean,
federal, yeah, the federal
you're
petition.
fighting it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we would love to stay updated about the outcomes, and um, if you want support, we can definitely share your email on the podcast. Any final thoughts before we close out for our listeners?
Uh, any final thoughts? For more difficult that it feels at some point, there are some moments that we feel that there is the end of the rope. Don't, is when you are probably getting closer to what you are trying to get. And on top of that, when you feel that depressed and with no energy and with no hope, think that your kids are counting on you, that you will never give up. And that's what it's given me a little push extra and a little push extra and a little push extra. I know they are counting on me. I know there will be one day when all of this has passed. And I am not gonna hold grudges on this. This happened for a reason. And I'm just gonna be focusing on the future to have a beautiful life with my kids.
Alejandro, thank you. You're so brave and you're so strong. And thank you for being a guest on the Fractured Families podcast.
Thank you for doing this amazing and noble task of communicating this very important meaning of parental alienation. That, to be honest, you were the first source of information where I learned what was parental alienation. So thank you. It's a very noble action that you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fractured Families podcast. I hope our conversation has provided you with support, understanding, and actionable insights to help you navigate your own family challenges. Remember, healing is a journey, and reaching out for help is a sign of strength. You're not alone. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more families in need. You can contact me on social media at Parental Alienation is Real and visit our website for additional resources and ways to get involved. Stay strong, stay connected, and keep fighting for the family bonds that matter most. Until next time, take care and stay resilient.